Hidden Billionaire Son-in-law, Chapter 23. Xie Kun of East City. Anyone in the vicinity of Lin Yin's current presence would certainly not be able to help but tremble in fear. While the menacing aura lingered eerily around his body, his deadly voice alone could cause one's knees to go numb. Beads of sweat gradually appeared on Xin San's forehead. He could suddenly smell the stench of blood. Arrange a meeting with Xie Kun for further negotiations at once, Lin Yin said calmly. Xin San replied hesitantly. Master Lin, Xie Kun will probably only be willing to negotiate in his own territory, East City. After all, why would a rabbit come out of its hole and put itself in danger? Lin Yin's eyes flickered with killing intent as he stated, Then, let's go to East City. Master Lin, you must not underestimate Xie Kun's strength and influence in East City. I'm afraid that even I won't be able to fight toe-to-toe against him in his territory, Xin San warned with a dejected expression. Having interacted with Xie Kun for the past many years, Xin San naturally knew his strength very well. In the southern city, he, Third Master Shun, would have the final say in nearly everything. If he brought his men into East City to look for trouble with Xie Kun, on the other hand, he would definitely not have the upper hand. Despite being sworn enemy for all these years, they never dared to interfere with each other's business for this reason. You don't dare, Lin Yin muttered as he looked at Xin San with an indifferent expression. Under Lin Yin's ice-cold glare, Xin San shrinked like a mouse and lowered his head immediately, feeling extremely conflicted in his heart. I will follow Master Lin's arrangement no matter what. Xin San gritted his teeth and made up his mind. Lin Yin nodded slightly and left while Xin San followed respectfully from the side. Immediately after, Xin San made a call to Xie Kun and asked him to come out for negotiations. A few minutes later, Lin Yin and Xin San walked out of Starlight. At that moment, more than 10 black Toyota Prados had already gathered at the entrance and were waiting for further commands. Each car was filled with several strong, burly men who were prepared for the worst-case scenario. Upon making up his mind, Xin San ordered every single corps elites available to accompany them for negotiations. With Xin San accompanying him from behind, Lin Yin stepped into the Land Rover and drove along with the other dozen cars towards Xie Kun's territory, East City. An hour later, East City District, Eastern Flying Fish Pier. The meeting would take place at an old pier in a remote and desolate area that had been abandoned for many years. Consequently, turning into a large garbage dump, not only was it filled with scrap metal thrown away without a care, but it also contained the remains of several wrecked ships at the river nearby. Next to the pier itself were several abandoned factory buildings that has not been touched for who knows how long. At this time, Xin San's entire crew had all positioned themselves outside the abandoned factory. After preparing themselves, 40 to 50 bodyguards in suits stepped out of the car and followed Xin San into the abandoned factory. In front of the factory gate, a group of men in suits stopped Xin San and Lin Yin from advancing. Third Master Shun, I just received orders from my boss stating that your men will have to remain outside, the big man in sunglasses said in a deep, intimidating voice. This. Third Master Shin frowned and looked at Lin Yin. Lin Yin nodded slightly and replied, No matter, we'll just have to go in by ourselves. While Xin San's bodyguards waited outside, Lin Yin and Xin San entered the factory by themselves. Upon their entrance, the lights in the abandoned building suddenly lit up as if setting the mood of the stage. With a quick glance around the factory, Lin Yin estimated there to be about 50 to 60 people inside the factory building. Each of them possessed a ferocious aura and stood in an orderly manner. In the middle of the factory building was a square wooden table with a teapot and 2 other teacups. Seated on the other side of the table was a middle-aged man with a crew cut, dressed in a black leather jacket. He gently lifted the teapot and poured tea into the cups. Although that man may look calm and composed on the outside, his eyes lingered with a hint of coldness. As he swept his cold gaze toward Xin San and Lin Yin, the corners of the mouth lifted up into a smile. Third Master Shun, how long has it been since the last time we met? I see that you still have the same cool appearance. Xie Kun spoke as if he met an old friend he hadn't seen in years. Xie Kun, let's skip the formalities for now, Shinsen said as he rolled Buddhist beads around in his hand. His expression remained unfazed as he went straight to the point. I came to East City today to ask for someone from you. Third Master brought his men over to visit personally just for this small matter? Xie Kun smiled and said slowly, It seems that some of my men have caused some trouble and misunderstandings below. Since Third Master Shin personally came over to greet me, how can I not give Third Master some face? Xie Kun snapped his fingers and ordered, Let Third Master's men go. The men in black beside him immediately brought out 6 men in suits from the small room in the factory. They were the men Shun San had previously sent to East City to catch Rat. Third Master, the 2 of us had always minded our own businesses over these past years. Although it was you who had stretched your hand over the boundary this time, I will be willing to turn a blind eye to it. However, there certainly won't be a next time. Xie Kun said coldly as he took a sip of tea. You may take your men and go back. Seeing how your dozens of brothers are waiting outside uncomfortably, why don't I book a whole restaurant for everyone to have a meal together? Since we rarely get to meet each other, we should take advantage of this opportunity and get to know each other better. Otherwise, you may take your leave at once. Xie Kun could not understand the meaning behind Shun San's actions. Why would he suddenly set his eyes on one of the subordinates under him and even look to take away his money? However, he did not want to fight Shin San to death just for this small matter. After all, he had planned to leave a line in this matter so that they could potentially meet again in the future. Xie Kun, the person I am here for today is Rat, Shun San stated with a serious expression. At that instant, Xie Kun narrowed his eyes as a cold glint flashed its depth. Bang! Xie Kun smashed a teacup in his hand onto the table and said coldly, Rat! See the guests out! His attitude was clear. At this time, a short middle-aged man suddenly stepped out from beside Xie Kun. I wonder why Third Master is looking for me. However, since you do not have any power in East City, you should lower your head and go back at once. Rat lifted his hands and said arrogantly without fear. The veins on Shin San's forehead instantly popped out in rising anger. Although he wanted to make his move, he knew that it would not be wise to start a fight in his current position. You are Rat? Did you steal the king of the world from Zhang's jewelry group? Lin Yin stepped forward and looked at the mouse with an indifferent expression. To arrive at this point in the negotiation, Shin San had already gone to great lengths to convince himself to stand firmly in this position. However, he never had any plans to wipe out Xie Kun's entire force in East City. Who do you think you are? What right do you have to speak up like this? Rat stared menacingly at Lin Yin and said, Is this your subordinate? Xie Kun looked at Shun San with a cold smile and questioned, Did the man you bring along would not even understand the basic rules? Master Lin, this is Xie Kun and Rat. I will listen to your words no matter what may be, Shun San stated clearly before retreating behind Lin Yin. Seeing Shun San's respect for Lin Yin, Xie Kun frowned and asked, Who are you? Lin Yin. Lin Yin stated indifferently, Let me ask you again, is the king of the world currently in your hands? The king of the world? Lin Yin. Xie Kun looked hesitant as he tried to connect the dots. Seeming to have come to a conclusion, he suddenly burst into gales of laughter. Aren't you that famous trash son-in-law of the Zhang family, Lin Yin? Ha! A useless brat like you actually dares to talk to me in such a manner? Xie Kun laughed wildly with a mocking expression. After piecing the puzzle together, he finally understood that the young man in front of him had come to take back the piece of jewelry worth tens of millions of dollars. 2 days ago, the son of Zhang Tianhai personally came to find him and introduced him to a good deal. According to his words, the Zhang group had created a piece of jewelry worth more than $10 million. In return for helping him steal the jewelry from the company, Zhang Tianhai stated that he would be able to keep the jewelry for himself. After taking a moment to think about it, wasn't his proposal low risk yet high reward? Thus, he immediately arranged for Rat to assist Zhang Tianhai with the heist of the king of the world. With the help of someone inside the company, It would be extremely easy to steal that piece of jewelry. However, Xie Kun never expected Lin Yin to be such a fool, for he actually dared come straight into the lion's den to take the piece of jewelry back. He really is courting death. Oh, Shin-san, aren't you widely known as the infamous lord of the underworld in the southern city? How could you actually call a useless wimp like Lin Yin, Master Lin? Xie Kun could not help but laugh upon hearing those ridiculous words. And you, trash, how dare you disturb me in my own territory? Did you think you could get out of this place alive? Xie Kun suddenly took out a silver pistol and aimed it at Lin Yin's forehead.